All right, today we're talking about a really huge leap forward in AI, one that tackles the number one fear that's been holding businesses back: privacy. We're going to explore Google's new technology called Private AI Compute and see how it plans to give you all the power of the cloud without you having to sacrifice your data. So let's dive right in. It really all boils down to this one single question. If you're running a business, the thought of feeding your confidential employee records, your trade secrets, or your customer data into a cloud AI, well, it can be downright terrifying. For a long time, the answer to this question has been a pretty risky maybe. But that is definitely starting to change. Okay, so first, let's break down the core problem here. We're calling it the AI privacy dilemma, and it's this fundamental conflict that has really defined how we use powerful cloud AI tools since the very beginning. This really shows you that classic trade-off. On one hand, you've got this incredible promise of AI power. Tools that can do in minutes what used to take people hours or even days. But on the other hand, to get that power, you've had to accept a massive risk to your data's privacy. You've had to hand it over to a third party and just hope for the best. And let's be super clear, these aren't just theoretical what-if kinds of risks. The threats are very, very real, and they're getting more sophisticated all the time. We're talking about everything from ransomware that can absolutely cripple a company to devastating data leaks and even highly advanced nation-state attacks. It's really no wonder so many businesses have been hesitant to jump on board. But what if you didn't have to make that trade-off? This is where our whole explainer pivots from the problem to the solution. So now, let's take a look at how Google is trying to solve this dilemma with a totally new approach. Say hello to private AI compute. The easiest way to think of it is like a fortified, protected space, a vault, really, that lives right inside Google's cloud. It's designed to give you the full horsepower of massive AI models like Gemini, but with the kind of privacy you'd expect from processing that data on your own computer. It's scale combined with security. So how does this thing actually work? Well, let's go inside what we're calling the locked vault, a metaphor that honestly perfectly captures the level of security we're talking about here. The whole process is actually brilliantly straightforward. First, you send your sensitive query. Second, it gets processed inside a totally isolated, secure little bubble called an enclave. Think of it like a digital cleanroom. It's a temporary, sealed environment that gets built just for your task. It does the work, and then it's digitally shredded. Third, you get your result back, fully encrypted. And finally, and this part is so crucial, that temporary workspace completely wipes itself clean. No data is left behind for anyone. And this is where the technology really starts to shine. It is custom built for the exact kind of sensitive tasks that companies have been afraid to do in the cloud. We're talking about analyzing payroll data without exposing salaries, reviewing confidential legal documents for key information, or spotting fraud patterns in financial records without sending raw data out over the open internet. If there's one line that sums up the entire promise of this technology, it's this one right here. The architecture is designed so that even Google itself, the company providing the service, cannot see the data you're processing. That is an absolute game changer for trust in cloud AI. Now, to really get how significant this is, let's put the old way of doing things right up against this new standard. It's a fundamental shift in how we should all be thinking about cloud computing and data privacy. The difference is just stark. For years, we've all lived with the trade-off. If you wanted the benefits of cloud AI, you just had to accept that the provider could potentially see your inputs and outputs. But the new standard that private AI compute brings in, it completely flips the script. Your data stays encrypted, isolated, and private from the beginning all the way to the end. So we've covered the problem, we've covered the solution, and how it all works. Now let's get to the most important part. What does this actually mean for you, for your business, and for the future of AI in general? The biggest takeaway is this. The era of having to choose between AI power and data security is coming to an end. This technology is a signal that you can have both. It means you get the analytical power, the speed, and the scale of cloud AI, but now with privacy that's actually verifiable. And hey, this isn't some far-off future tech. The rollout is already planned. It's starting with AI features on Pixel 10 devices. From there, it's going to be integrated into the tools many of us use every single day in Google Workspace. And then finally, it'll show up in Google's enterprise-level platform, Vertex AI, which means this level of security will be accessible to pretty much everyone. And that leaves us with one final and really exciting question. For years, the conversation has been about what we can't do with AI because of security risks. But as that barrier starts to come down, the question completely changes. Now that security is becoming a given, what incredible new tools and efficiencies will you build with AI? That's something to think about. Thanks for tuning in.